Today we're going to continue to talk about creating a logo, and we're going to be focusing on using letters in particular. And as we work on this, we're going to talk about some different types of letter marks or word marks that you can do. A letter mark would be a logo just of letters, initials, acronyms, and a word mark would be an actual word or name of a company. So we're going to work on that today. We'll go into Figma and try to get a little bit more information about Figma, and hopefully we will be able to help as you are working on your own logo for your website. All right, first of all, we are going to talk about ligatures. And the word ligature means to tie. And so we are going to be tying together letters essentially. So let's take a look at how we could do this. One of the ways we can do it is through a shared stroke, because many letters have a similar stroke that's a line that will form a natural link. So they just go together really easily. Like on CNN, we have where the N's come together, that's a shared stroke. Or over here we have where the H and the K came together. And you can just naturally put them together. It's easy, it looks good, and it's something that you can all do. I would like you to open up a new design file in Figma. So you would click on the plus. Now I already have one started, so I am just going to open up the one that I already have started. And you know what? Let's go ahead and title it. We should get into the habit of titling our work. So let's click in here, and I'm going to be calling this Logos of Letters. All right, so here I have a shared stroke design. How did we get here? So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to draw a text box. And with this text box, I am going to first of all do HK. I want this to be a lot bigger so I can see it. So I am going to select it, and I need to choose a different font. But first of all, again, let me just get it big, and I can go down here and check on a number here, or what I like to do sometimes better is I'm just going to click in here, and instead of choosing a preset number, I'm going to say 200 because I know I want it large, and here I have the two letters here. Now, if I want to take a look and browse some different fonts, WordPress usually uses Google Fonts and Figma set up with Google Fonts. So I can just go to Google. So go to Google, click on, or type in Google Fonts or Fonts Google, and we're going to go here, and we're going to click on Fonts. And here I can type what have there, and I can get an idea of what it might look like. I can have the choice of picking particular categories. In this case, I want a font that has a foot on it, meaning it has a little foot here. We'll talk more about that another day, but I'm just going to use a serif font, which means with feet again, so that's just that we have these little edges on it. All right, so I'm going to look at these and see what I like, and then I can go back and use that in my design. So I do like the Noto serif fonts, and so if I go back to my Figma, I can look here and go into the Notos, and there's a lot of Noto serifs, and so then I just need to pick one that I like here. And no, I'm not as fond of that one, so let me go back and look a little bit more. Look at the tie. Still not exactly what I want. And so Bengali, maybe, no. Now I've forgotten what I've chosen over here, so let me take a look. Noto Serif KR. Okay, so that's actually the one that I want. Is that? There we go. There it is. All right. So here, I'm going to actually get them this way. So now I have the font I want, and I have a size that I'm pretty happy with. Now you would think, on the one hand, one way you could do it, and we can try this, but we're not going to keep it, is we could use over here, we could change so that the spacing of the letters, so I just get this K right over that H, and so I can do that, go down to this letter spacing, and I could type in a number, a negative number to get them closer together, but if I just hover over this A with the two lines, you'll see a little arrow with two arrows, a little line with two arrows appears, and if I click down, I can actually just slide until they're together. So that's one way of doing it, but this isn't the way we really want to do it. This is not the best way to do it. So I'm not going to actually do that, so I'm going to do Command Z to undo that. What I'm going to do is I really want to have these as two separate letters as two separate boxes, containers instead of one. So I'm going to click on it and I'm going to do a Command D, make it into two different containers, and I'm going to erase the H in one, and I'm going to get rid of the K in this one. And then I'm just going to get my boxes, going to make it so that I have, sorry, I just want to get it so that I have a better box around my H here. All right, and then same thing, I'm just going to bring this box in. And if one thing I wanted to show you there, one of the reasons I went through that, first I was dragging it, so when I was on this H here and I was painfully dragging it all over and that wasn't right. An easier thing is if I just double click on it, and then that gets it to the right size. So there we go. So now we have two different boxes, same size. That way if we want to align them, now that they're the same size box, we can do that. All right, what I want to do, however, is I now want to take this and I can manually place it right over, get it as where I want it, and I can kind of choose, do I want a skinny line between them, or if I move it out a little bit it could be a thicker line. So that would be kind of the choice of what I would want to do. Make sure that they're aligned as well. I think I've kind of lined it up well, but I am not 100% sure. So what I could do is make sure, right now my K is selected, but I can also hold shift and select the H, so I have them both selected, and I could align the top, and it looks like I was pretty good with this, so I did get that well. Now what I want to do next is I want to unite these. I don't want them to be two separate letters floating around, and I have both of them selected still, and you'll see at the top I have this section. It's called the Boolean command, and I am going to click on that little drop down, that caret that creates a drop down menu, and I'm going to say union selection, and this is going to unite those two, so they are no longer two separate letters, they are going to be together now. So I'm going to select that. Great, now they're one union. And the last thing I would do here is create a box to be kind of similar to this one. Now that's too big, so I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. And here I'm going to actually make it 300, and I'm going to make it by 300. Now you notice I just typed that in. I just clicked on it and typed the digit 3 and the digit 00. One thing I could also do, just like I did with that letter spacing, is I could hover over this H, and I can use a slider bar to slide my way to 300. So just another way to do things in here. And I want to change the color. So I go down to my fill, and I can pick something that I like. And so here, let's say we go with this right now. Okay. All right, now this box is over my HK. this rectangle. So I am going to drag it under, so on my layers panel here, and now my HK is on top. I want to make sure the HK is in the middle, so I'm going to click on my HK, going to click on the box, and I'm going to come over to here, and I'm going to align both the horizontal and the vertical centers. So align and align. There we go. Now it's in the middle. So there we have one logo that we've made. Now let's talk about another one. The next one that we're going to talk about is almost identical strokes. So they don't have exactly the same strokes like that H and the K did, but they're kind of similar, so we can kind of unite them. And often it means we have to get rid of some part of a letter in some way. And so here with the U and the R, we've had to get rid of part of this R, that's, you know, the bottom straight down stroke, but it's still legible. You can understand what it is. Here they've kind of sacrificed a little bit of the curvature here, and for this A, yeah, we've had to make that one part of the A much longer for uniting these ones. So let's give this a try. We are going to recreate this one that has the letter B and the letter G. So first thing we're going to do again is we are going to have a text box. So drag and drop a text box, and we're going to do a B and a G. I need to make this bigger. So there's, okay, there we go. Now these obviously are not going to go well. I'm still in that serif font that I had up here, and the lowercase b and g, these are just the wrong size. It's not going to work. So let's go back to Google Fonts, and now I'm going to put in lowercase b, lowercase g, and I am going to, let me go back up to the top, look for something that has some similar sizes. Roboto Slab, okay, but that's not my favorite font, so I'm going to keep looking and see what else I can find. Ah, and I see Zilla Slab here. Those look to be a good size. I also like that it has a little bit of ornamentation there, so that you might be able to see them even when they're united, understand that they're both the same letter. So Zilla Slab, so let's go back here and let us choose Zilla Slab. Come on, Z. Zilla, let's see. Okay, I've chosen Zilla Slab now. And we're not going to use the spacing function, just like we didn't last time. We are going to duplicate, which if I have this box selected, the rectangle, I can do Control D and then drag down. And on this one, I'm going to get rid of the, oops, get rid of the G. And on this one, I'm going to get rid of the B. And now, again, I want to make these boxes to the text box to be a better size. So I'm just going to click on this corner here and get it, just kind of double click on it and get it to, there we go. Now I'm going to move this one up here, and I'm going to take a look. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to make these different colors so they're a little, you can tell that they're not just a shape, that they're a letter. So let's see, on this one, the B, I am going to pick a dark purple if I kind of match what I did over here on the other side. So we got a dark purple there, and on the G I'm going to pick something more in the magentas, maybe a little too dark there, something more like that for right now. Okay, all right, so now if you notice, and let me get a little closer, there is some overlap here. The B is bigger than the G is. So they don't overlap exactly. So if I just put them on top of each other with that, you could still see the stroke here, which I'm not so fond of. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to make this G bigger. So I am going to, let's see, right now it's at 210. I'm going to take it to 220 and let's see how much that helps. Will that get rid of that extra? Uh, let's see if I can at least get rid of it on the outside where we don't see any purple on the outside here or here. And I've been able to do that. I still have some purple here. And so let's see what we can do with this. I'm going to get the ellipse tool, which this is also where I got the where you'd get the rectangle tool, but I'm just going to go down to ellipse and I am going to make an ellipse, a circle here, and I'm going to make it so it covers not only that purple, but I'm just going to go ahead and make it so I want this circle, this ellipse right now to basically I'm going to be excluding or cutting it out. So I'm going to cut out a whole section of both this pink and purple, whatever this gray circle is covering, it's now going to be gone. There'll just be a space in here. So I simply need to get this how I want it to look, and maybe something like that. I might be okay with that. And I'm going to now have this ellipse circled, and I'm going to click, oh, I think I might have a little bit of purple still showing there. So let me get it just a tiny bit bigger on that side. Okay, how are we? Okay, maybe a little bit bigger this side. Okay, I think I'm okay with that maybe. We're going to go with it because this is a tutorial of how to use Figma more than how to get it kind of perfectly shaped there. All right, so I don't like how I just brought it up. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to have this ellipse selected and I'm going to select the B, but I do not want that G selected, and see I have the G there, so let me click off, click on ellipse and click on, and still selecting the B. So what I want is here and here, but not here. All right, and it was when let me just say one thing, when I first click on these and it was still selecting that G, one of the things you can do is hit Command. So let me get these all selected again, but I don't want that G. What I can do is click on Command and the G, and now it's not selected anymore. All right, next thing we're going to do is we are going to get rid of all this circular space. We're going to go up to our Boolean commands up here, and we're going to say subtract selection. And right away it's not exactly what I imagined because I want that purple behind. But if I look over here, that's at the top of my layers, and all I really need to do is to put it down here, and now I have that G and top overlapping, and I have my logo. Let's talk about mixing upper and lowercase letters now. Sometimes you can't use two uppercase or two lowercase. Now, in the example of this first one with the DK, if you had a capital D, you couldn't blend it with the K in a legible sort of way, but a lowercase d you can. And I is a real problem when it comes to an uppercase, because once you join it, it's hard to tell whether or not it's an L as opposed to an I. So a lot of times we do lowercase i's but make them large in the case of these two. Let's give it a try and see if we can recreate this ITT one. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we are going to draw a text box, and we're going to click ITT. We're going to make sure that we're going to make this big enough so we can see it. Now it's just using, I think it's using that, what font do we have? Oh, it's still using Zilla Slab, what we used up here, but that is not what we want to use. So let us take a look at Google Fonts, And here I already clicked in the ITT and was looking at some that I like, some that I thought could easily be combined. And as I was looking at which ones I liked, I came across um, the Hind, and so I am going to go back to my Figma. I'm going to type in Hind, and it turns out there's quite a few different types of Hind, and in playing around with them I ended up liking this one, the Hind Siliguri. Okay, so I am going to now duplicate this like I've done before. So I have two here. I'm going to get rid of the two T's, and I had already clicked this box up here, so it has automatically come to the right size over here. Going to get rid of the I, going to get rid of an extra T, and I am now going to duplicate my T. Okay, and here we go, ITT. Now I notice I made this a capital, which we want this to be lowercase. There we go. But if you notice there, it doesn't come to the right height. If I just took this T and brought it closer, if I just bring it over here, bring it closer, it's going to intersect that, and that's not going to look very good. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. First I'll get these two together like I want them to be. And when I'm happy with it, I would then select the two of them, and then I could join them with my Boolean, but I'm not doing that quite yet. You can't see the Boolean response or key up here because I've only have one thing selected. I'd have to have two things selected to get to that menu. All right, but what might I do here? I could make this a larger font. So right now it's 240. What if I made it 280? All right, then it's larger, and then I could potentially have it here. Bring this one over more, get it closer, and then what I'd want to do is check to see what kind of space I have in between these, make sure they're all even. I might want this eye just a little bit smaller though, so let me click back on that eye and let's try 275 and bring it down a little bit till the bottoms match here. So now these are even, and that is more what I have in mind. So then again, I would select these three different things. So we got our TTI, and here I would unite them, and now I have my logo. Another thing that we can do is to remove a stroke to make for an interesting word mark or letter mark. So if we look at NASA, they've taken the middle out of the A. Here in BroLink, they've taken out these strokes here on the B and the R, and a little slice out of the N here. So here we've combined the V and the A, but in order to do that we had to remove a stroke from the A. So let's take a look at how we could do this. Go into Figma. All right, first of all I'm going to draw my text box. I'm going to start out writing Vantage, and I want this text box to be the right size, so I'm going to double click there, and now it's the right size. And I want to show you something that perhaps we hadn't seen before. Let me see if I can move this up a little ways because I want to show you. if we scroll down here, this is where we've been choosing fonts, playing with the size, spacing. There's a little three-dot menu here, and if we click on that, we get a dialog box that lets us do some different things. So I could choose the case from here, and in this case I do want to have it all caps, and so I'm going to select that all caps, but just see that you could do a number of different things within this dialog box. Okay, so now I have Vantage here, and I am going to duplicate it once, and I'm going to duplicate it twice. And I'm going to just kind of set two of these off to the side a bit. This one I am going to, oh, you know what? I'm not going to duplicate it yet because you know why? I don't have the right font chosen. So let's go to Google Fonts and see what would be a one that would be a good font to be able to take a stroke out. And as I'm looking at this, it's actually right at the beginning. I see this Nixie one, and it has some nice thin strokes which make it a little bit more visually pleasing to take out a stroke here. So I am going to choose Nixie one. So let's go here, let's go Nixie one. Here we go. And that's what I want. And so let me get rid of that one now. And this is the one that I'm going to actually duplicate twice. So I just did Command D, and I'm going to drag, 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 and one of them I'm going to get rid of everything after the V, because I'm going to be working with this V on its own. And on this one I'm going to get rid of everything but the A. Okay, so I'm going to move this V over here for a minute, get it a little bit out of my way. Like I said, we want to move that out of our way. Let's work with this A because we want to get rid of that stroke. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit more and take a look at it. Now how do I get rid of that stroke? One of the ways we can do it is, and here I better scooch down so you can see my tools again here. Here are my tools. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all take a line tool here, and it's the same where I got the rectangle or the ellipse, but this is a line that I'm doing. And I am going to draw a line over this A. And get in nice and close, and I want to try to get it as much as possible the right stroke here, or the right angle for what we're going for here. And in some ways it doesn't have to be exact, so I'm going to be making this thicker than this line, and so it's going to probably work, but I don't want to take off too much of the A here. Alright, what I'm going to do next, I'm going to make this red so I can see it just a little bit easier. And I'm going to make it thicker, so I'm going to go over to here, and I am going to make that nice and thick. Come over here, got to make sure that it is covering all of the A, and it is. Now I really probably don't want this box quite that high up. Let's see for now. And actually let me double check what I had done on this one over here. Okay, so actually I do want it a little higher up. Alright, so looks like we are going to cover it up to there. And then I also need to draw one that will cover up this line here. Oops, and I got to get my line tool. Can't forget to grab your tool again. I'm going to make it kind of a reddish color so I can see it, and I'm going to increase the stroke so that, there we got that. Alright, then I am going to want to do line 4, line 3, not that. the, here's the A. I'm going to bring this A up right by line 3 and 4 so I can select them easier. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to subtract selection, and now that's gone. Okay, so there we got that. I'm going to bring my V over here, and here, if I did it exactly the same way I did over here, I would then take a look at lining it up. There, so now we have it lined up. I could also have some other choices though if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to go like that. I could do that. Maybe even up a little higher. And so we could overlap it that way. I could also make it so we just have that kind of the implied stroke on the A. Yeah, so I could kind of have it maybe something like that. I would need to work on smoothing out this though, because that would be kind of messy. But let's just go with that for the moment. And see, we come over here and this is much too big. So if I go like that, that doesn't make my letters smaller. So we don't want to just drag the box to change your text size. So let me do Command Z to stop from that. And I'm going to go down to my fonts, and here I am going to want this to be smaller. So if I just kind of hover next to where the font size is, I can just do this and keep moving until it gets to be about the right size. And here, just kind of want it to fit between underneath the A, the V and the A. Maybe it needs to be a little bit bigger, not much. And say I want it to line up with the end of the A here. So if I select A and the Vantage, then I can align it by these right sides. Now it's lined up. So voila, we have now a logo with a stroke that has been removed.